All right. Welcome to our favorite movies. What we're going to do is we're going to take our top 5 favorite movies. Now, this isn't our absolute all-time favorites. I mean, it's just off the top of our heads. What's your favorite movie? Think of 5 movies that you really, really love.
Really good movies.
Yeah, really good movies. So, I mean, it's not like we're saying these are the number 1 shows of all time, but they kind of are, because in our minds, they are the best. Mine are better than yours, but
Yeah.
so let's go with number 5. Well, let's go ahead and start us off. What is your 5th favorite movie?
Alright, my 5th favorite is Lord of the Rings Return of the King. It's got awesome battle scenes and stuff, and they were pretty close to the book and such. And it was really fun to watch when, you're like, it's like what, 10 or 11 when it would it come out, I think?
I don't know. How old were you?
I don't know. You're
I wasn't there.
You're the one with knowledge.
I wasn't there.
Well, when did it come out for you then?
When I was older.
So in the future. Anyway,
Yeah.
very good movie.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that. Okay, my number 5, believe it or not, is Kung Pao. Okay, Steve Odekirk created a comedy where he took a martial arts flick and superimposed himself into the movie.
Wasn't it 2 martial arts flicks?
Yeah, it was one. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, he took the martial arts flick and superimposed himself into it, and then rearranged all the scenes to make his story. And it is one of the funniest. I gotta tell a story about this. I went to the theater with my brother. We went and saw it, and I could say from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, I was laughing so hard. I had tears in my eyes. But the funny thing that happened during the show is we got in there, and about, I'd say, 10 to 15 minutes into the show, a third of the audience got up and walked out of the theater. So there was only 4 of us left. Can you do the math?
Yep. Even I can do that.
Nice. So Kung Pao is my number 5. Number 4.
The A-Team with, let me see, Liam Neeson and the other guys. But yeah, it's funny. I hadn't seen the TV show. I didn't know that was a thing. But after watching this, I watched the show, and both are very funny and just outlandish. Think MacGyver, but there's less make weird things and more let's just blow stuff up.
MacGyver with explosions and comedy and
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Murdoch is the best.
I'm with you there. That's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, my number 4, The Sixth Sense. Shyamalan started with The Sixth Sense. Amazing movies. He just went downhill from there. But The Sixth Sense was one of my absolute all-time favorite shows. I love scary shows. I love horror shows. This one was psychologically damaging to a lot of people that watched it. It was pretty awesome. I just absolutely loved the show.
He's into that kind of movie. He has a couple jump out and scare you, but the majority of his are the ones that mess with your brain.
I like psychological horror because they're fun. Okay. All right, you're number 3.
Thor Ragnarok. That was just a funny movie. Because up to that, Thor was very serious, and they talked in like the old Norse speaking, and then stuff like, what's his name, Taika Waititi? Just was like, nah. And so it was like the get help scene. If you haven't seen it, that's like the best.
It was a good show.
It's just funny, and I was not expecting it.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good show. Number 3 for me, Star Trek First Contact. The reason I loved this show is the acting in it was fantastic. Even though they dealt with time travel, I do not like time travel, but this is the one they did well. The show actually gave me nightmares about the Borg. That's how effective that show was to me. I loved that show. That was my absolute favorite TNG show.
Is it Data or Data?
What's that?
Is it Data or Data?
Oh, my name is Data.
Okay. You gotta ask.
All right, you're number 2.
The first How to Train Your Dragon. Because the people who made it, they were part of Disney, and then they split off from Disney and went to DreamWorks, and so it's one of it's kind of from the Disney Renaissance era, but a little bit later. And so it was a movie that I thought was just going to be more along the lines of just a, animated kids and dragons kind of thing, which is, last I've seen on TV, it was one of the more commonplace things, but it ended up being a lot more fun, fantastical, it was exciting, even though it was a kids movie. It wasn't the kind of thing that, that just your little kids were going to watch. So it was still fun to see and definitely had some interesting moments.
That was a good show. I remember watching that and being kind of surprised at how good it was.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. It was a fun show. Okay. My number 2 is the original Star Wars. The original Star Wars, I mean, you could go with the trilogy, but just the first original Star Wars. I saw that, I believe it came out in 76, did it?
77?
76, 77, it's somewhere in there. But I remember being a kid, going and watching that, and I just absolutely loved it. I fell in love with the whole sci-fi genre. And Star Wars did so well with their character development, even though they were over actors and Mark Hamill. but the show was amazing, and the actors were great, and the special effects were just so far ahead of their times. Pretty amazing. Little side note on that, when my cousin's uncle, I guess it was, recreated the Hughes Flyer, the Hughes airplane. He actually broke the land speed record with it. But my cousin took me, we were at an air show, and he took me to the plane, and he said, I want you to listen to this. Tell me what it is. They started the plane up, and it was the sound of the TIE fighters.
Mm-hmm.
That was the sound they used for the TIE fighters in Star Wars, was the starter for that plane. It was pretty cool.
Yep.
Okay. All right, now we're off to number 1.
And
if
for
you disagree
me,
with us, you're wrong.
you know what?
Go ahead. What's your number 1?
So it's another Disney Renaissance era, Treasure Planet. They built, it wasn't like other sci-fi fantasies where, it's kind of the same story, just different characters setting plot. They built a whole realm for how the science of the ships worked, how space travel worked, like you didn't need a spacesuit or anything, but you traveled on solar winds and things like that. Jim Hawkins being like the rebel teenage kid that everyone is at some point in that space of life. He ends up becoming a pirate. He's friends with a robot and some weird little, it's called Morph, but it can shape into anything. That's, I don't know, I'd be cool with being friends with a robot at that age, but so seeing that was like, I don't know, probably came out like 2000-ish. That was one that we had on VHS to the point where we kept watching it and watching it and watching it, and the tape got worn out, and so there were like whole scenes missing from the movie because it would be scenes that we watched over and over, or just time took its toll on it, but it's one that we really need to buy because I haven't seen it forever.
Nice. Okay, and my number 1 show, Lord of the Rings. But not just Lord of the Rings, you gotta have them all. And you gotta have the extended versions.
Yeah, well, that too yeah.
Those are the most fantastic movies ever made. A lot of people were turned off because of what they did to Faramir's character. You have to just look beyond that. You have to forgive them. I have forgiven Peter Jackson in my heart for ruining one of the most noble characters in the book. You ruined him. But I've forgiven him.
Maybe he'll see this.
I have forgiven him in my heart. Have you?
Yeah, with The Hobbit and doing all the CGI and
Oh,
stuff.
we're not even going to talk about that.
Okay, but
We're not even talking about that.
Okay,
That's
but
not
back to
even
Lord of the
close
Rings.
to this. Lord of the Rings. I thought they did an excellent job from start to finish. They did a fantastic job on it. But ruining Faramir's character was a capital offense to a lot of people I know. They actually swore off the movies because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was their favorite character from the books. Because he was so noble and so good. And then they turned him into this whining... they should have got Will Wheaton to play him. So...
And then, shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley. All right. So... That's cool.
Yeah.
All All right, so that is our top 5 movies. Of course, this is all our opinion, and if your opinion differs, you're wrong. So just thought I'd let you know.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you got better movies, you can go ahead and put them down in the comments if you want, but it won't be better than ours.
See ya.
Goodbye.